Phillips. I go to West Edgecombe Middle School. I'm going to the 8th grade, and I live in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Today, we're here to talk about the possible demerger going on between Nash and Edgecombe County Public School System. From what I know, a lot of people do not understand, but I have two guys that's here to clear it up for y'all. Would y'all like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Donnell Cannon, and I'm the Executive Director of District Transformation and Redesign for Edgecombe County Public Schools. So in my role, I work alongside of our parents and our community members. I work alongside of our county commissioners. I work along of our school district, our school board, to gather as much information as possible that we might hand over to our commissioners to help guide a decision on their end, whether demerger happens, how it happens, when it happens. So thanks.
Great. And Eric, I'm Eric Evans. I'm the county manager. It's nice to meet you. I've been working for the county for a little over 20 years. On this particular project, I'm the main point person for our board of commissioners on this issue.
Okay, so I have questions from the community. First off, I'll just like to start off with a basic question. What is a demerger?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Eric. So right now there are about 1,600 to 1,800 kids who attend Nash County Public Schools, but live in Edgecombe County. It's been that way since the early 90s. So in 1992, Rocky Mount had its own school district, and Nash County had its own school district. The state of North Carolina provided guidance to consolidate, so to bring schools together and create more efficiencies of scale, right? More efficiencies across the system.
Yeah.
And so the school systems merged. And for some time, the city of Rocky Mount had been paying this gap funding, which Eric will share a little bit more, for the students, to educate those students locally here in the area. More recently, in 2016, Edgecombe County was directed in a particular policy in which Eric will share to begin to jump in and pay the funding for the 1,800 kids who currently live in Edgecombe but attend Nash County schools. Want to share more?
Yeah, sure. So I know one of the questions that we've been asked is, after 30 years since these schools have been consolidated in the early 90s, as Mr. Cannon mentioned, why are we talking about this now? That's a reasonable question. Well, we're talking about this now because in 2015, the Nash County Board of Commissioners raised the question as to whether or not the Edgecombe County was paying their fair share of the cost for the students that live on the Edgecombe County side of Rocky Mount but attended Nash Rocky Mount school system. So we had a series of meetings, and we were able to show that we were, based on the percentage of students that are in the school system, that we were covering those costs. Mm-hmm. At the same time, discussion came up in those meetings about possible demerger, county line merger, split. There have been a lot of terms that have been used for this, but the question came up about maybe we should just let those schools come over to the Edgecombe County school system. And it's important to note that these four schools have never been a part of the Edgecombe school system. They were previously City of Rocky Mount schools and then Nash Rocky Mount schools. So at the time, our board, as well as both school boards, the City of Rocky Mount, we didn't think that was a good idea. We felt like it would be too disruptive, that we wanted to stay as it was. And so we worked to push back against that. And so it didn't happen in 2016, but a state bill, Senate Bill 382, Session Law 2016-14, if people want to look it up, did get passed in our General Assembly. And though it did not demerge or transition those schools, it did a few other things that we feel like has put the county in a bad position. One of the things that it has done is that it has required the City of Rocky Mount to back away from covering the difference in what Edgecombe can pay for our students and what Nash County can pay for their students. Nash and Edgecombe counties, Nash County has a larger tax base, and so they're able to pay more per student. City of Rocky Mount used to pay that difference. And that usually ranges somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 a year. Well, that bill, that state statute said the city of Rocky Mount had to stop doing that and the county had to cover that. So that was one thing. The other thing, it said that for capital costs, so building a new school or major repair projects, those types of things, it said that we would have to pay our proportionate share. So and that's usually around 11 or 12%. It's based on the number of students that we have in the district. And we would have to cover those costs. Now, up until 2016, we had been doing that. But we had to consider any new projects that would come up moving forward. So, for example, Nash County they're building a new school in Red Oak, which is an elementary school. Is great. I'm sure that they needed one there. However, we have to pay about 12% of the cost of that, though we have few to no Edgecombe County residents who will go to that school. And so every time something is built, whether we have students in that school or not, we have to pay 12% of it. So, for example, we're helping to pay debt service on some work on some other schools that have been done some years ago in other parts of Nash County. Nash County is considering building a new field house at Northern Nash High School, and the bids have come back in about $4.5 million. We would have to pay 12% of that, whether we have students in that school or not, and we would have probably few students in that school. So this legislation has put Edgecombe County, we think, in a bad spot. And so now our board is reconsidering on whether or not we should bring those students into the Edgecombe County school system. So again, people ask, well, why are you talking about why change? This is why we're even talking about it.
Okay. This isn't really a question from a community, but a question from myself. I wonder what schools that are over the count that are supposed to be in Edgecombe County Public Schools are in Nash County Schools.
Yeah, so there are a few students who would be most impacted, and so the physical buildings that are currently in Edgecombe County.
Yeah, all I've heard about was Parker.
Yeah, but administrated by Nash are one is Parker Middle School, spot on. We also have Fairview Elementary, Baskerville Elementary, and DS Johnson. Yes, so those would be those families would be most impacted because they attend those schools, and those schools again are located in Edgecombe County. However, administrated under the guidance of under the leadership of Nash County. So those are the 4 schools that would be directly impacted.
Yeah, so one of my questions. So
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
how would the money? I don't even know how to answer this, but how would the money, payments, change with this demerger possibly happen?
Sure. So now Edgecombe County, we send around $2.7 million, and that includes that gap that the city of Rocky Mount used to pay. We send that to Nash County Schools, and they use that. That's our contribution to helping to educate the students in Nash County Schools. We also spend between paying debt that was, they encumbered some debt some years ago for construction projects, annual capital projects. We send another $500,000 or so over. So if the demerger happens, that money, instead of going to Nash County Schools, would then go to Edgecombe County Schools to help cover the cost of those buildings and as well as to help educate those students.
Has a decision regarding this demerger been made or decided, as you would say?
So not yet. So our board, the ultimate decision rests in the hands of the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners. Based on that state statute, the board can decide we feel like it's best to make that transition and pull that trigger is the term we've been using. So the board, we've been discussing it for at least a couple of years. We've been in deep discussion with the Edgecombe School Board. We recently had a series of community meetings to gather feedback from those that would be mostly affected by it, parents, students, community leaders here in Rocky Mount. And so the decision has been made. Our board right now looks to possibly make a decision on that in the next few months. but right now we're still in the information gathering phase. And so Donnell will talk in a little bit about ways that folks can still submit their thoughts, comments, ideas, feelings about this through a survey. And we encourage people to let us know how you feel. What do you think about this?
Okay, so another question from the community. If y'all were to vote yes as of right now, when would it happen?
Yeah, so we're asking the commissioners for a runway. So if they were to decide yes that a demerger will take place, we want to get this right for our families and for our young people, right? But obviously, we weren't be able to create like really sharp plans that are inclusive of like what families and young people want overnight. So we really want to get this right? So we want to remain curious. We want to like collect as many insights from our families and young people about what they want to be true in this. So what we're asking is that we have at least like a 2-year runway to kind of stand this on its feet, if you will, right? So again, like there's a lot of listening that still needs to be done. There's a lot of plans that need to be created, and we want to make sure like we have the spaciousness to get this right for the communities in Rocky Mountain.
Okay. This question, I believe you've already answered it, but I guess I'll ask it again. If a demerger was to happen, would students that currently live in Edgecombe but attend Nash County schools have to attend current Edgecombe County Public School buildings, or?
Yeah, so much of that decision would be guided by our parents and our young people, right? If our community is saying that like they want to remain community schools, meaning they want to attend the schools within their community, I think I could speak for like our Edgecombe County unit and our commissioners that like that's something that would be true, right? We want to honor that, and then we know that like that has deep identity, like folks feel connected to their own schools. So if a demerger were to happen, we want to, like hear from parents and see and honor like what they and children and see what they want and honor that. So to answer your question directly, Eric, yes, those schools will remain where they are, and students will continue to attend their schools. So we don't anticipate there being like much shuffling across like our Edgecombe County schools. So for an example, I know this. We're hearing this, and you gather some of these questions.
Yeah.
Like students who attend like D.S. Johnson won't necessarily have to attend, let's say Bullock Elementary.
Yeah,
right.
Because that was my main worry. I did not want to go to Parker, or I just didn't want to leave West in general.
Indeed, yeah. So let's take that as a reference point. So students at Parker won't necessarily now become students over at West, right? So our hope is that like students who currently attend Parker, or let's use Baskerville, like those students will still have access to that feeder pattern, those community schools, and not have to be bused all the way to like Coca-Wembley. So I hear you, I hear community, and that's something that I know that's keeping a lot of people up at night.
And just to add to that, so our board of commissioners, it's the school board's responsibility to educate the children. It's the county's responsibility to provide funding to help with that, in particular to provide for the buildings where that takes place. And so our board, they appreciate the importance of kids being able to go to school close to where they live. And so I know that that's a major concern. The important thing for people to remember, if this demerger happens, it's not just a matter of bringing over students, but it's also bringing in those facilities. So as Donnell mentioned, there are schools that are available right here in Rocky Mountain. So in all likelihood, most students in at least through middle school won't see a difference and where they would normally attend school. Now, the only thing is that there is not a high school on the Edgecombe County side of Rocky Mountain, but there's a lot of work that's already been taking place to look at how can we offer a high school option inside the city limits of Rocky Mountain without those students having to travel across the county to go to one of our other 3 high schools.
And again, I just want to emphasize that like this is all about inclusive decision making. So speak loudly for especially our school board, our superintendent, and our entire like Edgecombe ecosystem, that we are about like partnering with folks to make some of these big decisions. So it's all inclusive. We want to hear from folks, and what we hear will help like guide that decision. Again, if a demerger were to take place.
Okay. For another question, I think you've answered this like you said. Money would go towards school buildings instead of Nash County. But I ask it again: if the merger was to happen, how would it impact the school buildings in Edgecombe County?
Do you mean those 4 here in Rocky Mount or all the schools?
All the schools.
All the schools. Well, we already have the responsibility of providing for all of the school facilities. We know that we have needs, and that's something that our board has been working hard on for the last several years to make that a priority alongside our school board to try to address some of those needs. We've been asked the question, well, you've got needs in the 14 schools that you have. If you bring these 4 in, then how in the world are you going to take care of now 18 schools?
They don't realize what's been going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, one important thing for people to understand, and it's part of the reason why we're having this conversation, is right now there is money that Edgecombe County, we're writing that check, so to speak, every year, that's going into the construction of a school that's not in Edgecombe County, it's not in the city of Liberals, Rocky Mount, and it's out in Nash County, that we have no students in that school. So that money that we're sending that far away can then come into the 14 schools, these 4 schools, to help address some of those needs. So we realize, and we're certainly not trying to paint a picture that even if demerger happens and we take these schools in, that magically we can fix every school building issue and repair need overnight. That's certainly not the case. But there will be money available that right now that we're spending that's going into schools that our students don't attend.
So now we're going to, I wouldn't say we're focusing all on high schools in these last few questions, because this is the only question that I've heard about high school. But what about the high schools? Edgecombe County wouldn't really get a high school building into the merger. How would it work?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there are approximately 400 students who are currently live on the Edgecombe County side, and who are in high school.
And those are the kids that live in Meadowbrook and go to Rocky Mount High, right?
Yes, and some kids also are in like some other schools. We have a few kids in like Northern Nash. There are a few kids in Edgecombe who attend City High School. There are a few kids in Tar River, and there are some kids who attend the community college in Nash. So yes, you're right. So we don't get a physical building. So as we name the physical buildings that would transition in the event of a demerger would be those 4 schools, right? Parker, Fairview, D.S. Johnson, and Baskerville. But we won't have a high school. And so what I've been doing, Eric, right? I've been conducting these things called empathy interviews. It's a way to like move in closer to how our young people are experiencing the world, like what they want to be true in the world, what they want to be true in like the decision making, and also their parents. So I've been having these like empathy interviews. So I think to date we've had about 134. Eric, I will say, like, tell your friends, families, we want to get more. We want to hear from more people, right? We want to sit on those front porches. We want to sit at the dining tables and ask, like, what do you want to be true in this in the event that it happens? Because we take those, we put those as part of our like as our consideration so that we can make the decision. Again, we don't want to make this decision arbitrarily, meaning like in absence of, right? Like our parents and our kids. And so far we've done 134. And what's been clear is that our families, in the event of a demerger, they want their own high school option, right? So we hear loud and clear that they wouldn't want to attend like a North Edgecombe High School or a Tarboro, exactly, or Tarboro High School. They want their own schools, and so what our hope is that we can create a high school option, as Mr. Evans like mentioned. So now we've been exploring like and reimagining what could be different. So we know that like COVID has taught us in many ways that brick and mortar schools, right? The brick and mortar schools in ways we know it, that has the bells, like you move from class to class, that doesn't necessarily need to be true for high schools. So we're trying to think broadly and like boldly about like what a high school could be, right? And transform a building so that it's like state of the art and better prepares kids for like the future of learning and the future of work. Because we don't want to just like transition folks in like a very status quo way, like as you mentioned, go to this school, go to that school. We want this to be explosive. So in the event that it happens, that our kids like get a bold experience, right, that they've never seen before, but also prepares them like by equipping them to fall into the passions, get better at those passions, like fall into purpose and define those purpose, and then also like get a really solid education. So we're currently exploring high school options. We've had some conversations about what a downtown campus could look like. again, not cart before the horse, but we're trying to listen to families and start to put plans together, get their opinions early on, so that in the event that our commissioners vote yes, then we as a district,
you already know how they feel about
That's
it,
right.
and you got their opinion on everything.
That's
I get
right.
exactly what you're saying.
and we're well prepared, right? We're well prepared. So we hear families loud and clear. They know they want a high school option, and we're exploring a myriad of possibilities, right? So we're looking into like what that could look like, what could that be, so that folks, so if students were to transition, then they have their own high school. One thing that's on the books currently is that we have one more like loophole, one more next step. We're hopeful to open up an early college, a health science early college at the Edgecombe Rocky Mountain campus. So that's on the books. I think there's like our General Assembly have that in their pockets, and we're waiting for that to be approved. So this would take effect over the next like year or two. So we would already have like a runway for that. But if our students in Rocky Mount, in the city of Rocky Mountain, who live in Edgecombe, will have access to an early college option. So a number of possibilities. Hopefully, one of the most exciting school models that these communities have seen.
Okay, so now we're on, I would say personally, my favorite question, because it's on athletics. How would the athletics of Edgecombe County be affected? Because coming from me playing all three sports, I always wanted to play against the Nash County schools because it could open exposure. So I just want to know, like, how will athletics be affected? Will we have to like expand schedules or like change anything up with athletics?
Yeah. So yes, I know. Like you're saying, that athletics is really important to you. I imagine athletics is like so important to like young people. In fact, we're hearing that from our families and communities, right? And that's a decision that we want to make in absence of our young people and our families, right? So we want to get this right. So I think there are a number of possibilities to explore what that could look like. Obviously, like some of the obvious, like maybe have our own athletic programs, or like merging into a few of our own athletic programs. But how we kind of pursue that would be with the support of our families and our young people at the table, especially those who are like heavily involved in athletics, similar to like your experiences, to help us make a best fit solution in regards to that.
I have another question. This has nothing to do with the community questions, but if these schools that go like Parker, since they play Nash County schools now, because they're a Nash County school as of right now, will they still play Nash County schools, or will they transfer over to the Edgecombe County schedule and play schools like West and Phillips and Patillo and so on and so on?
So you're curious guy, man. Yeah, so I think there's a number of possibilities there too, right? So like obviously like we're in the area, the athletic directors like in our school district, alongside of our district's athletic administrator will make that decision in terms of like what scheduling looks like, divisions look like. We're also seek support from the athletic association at the state, so that we can get this right. So I don't have an exact answer for you, but that's one that we would need to put in like a broad collection of stakeholders to make that decision. That has like that includes like our athletic directors, the athletic association of the state, our district administrator, and also our parents and young people who are be most impacted by that.
Okay. Now we're getting to the education side, to where people are asking about how will it impact the way that the kids learn, that the kids that's coming from Nash County, because from what I know, me going to a Nash County school and transferring, they're on two different curriculums in my eyes, because we went over something totally different. Because what they went over in 6th grade at West and what they went over in 6th grade at Nash Central, totally different. So my question is, how will they will they improve? Will they match it? That's my question.
Yeah, so that's always the goal. You know what I mean? That like, Eric, you deserve the best possible education experience that you can imagine, and our goal is to make sure that you have access to just that. And so we wouldn't fall short of that with our students in Nash County as well. So currently we have 12 schools that met or exceeded growth in 2018-19. Is the last time we've had some quantitative data from the state that's been quantified in that particular way, but quantifying like student performance, school performance. And we had 2 schools that did not meet growth. And I would make that bet that if our principals in our district were incredibly excited to get test scores back during the COVID year, because we knew that we were going to get 14 out of 14. And we're talking like in 4 years prior, I think we only had a margin of that had like exceeded. So there's significant like work that is taking place in all of our schools to ensure like every kid gets the types of academic experiences they deserve, and our kids are hitting the right academic metrics. So we're like, I'm incredibly proud of our like superintendent who stops at nothing to ensure like our kids like get those types of experiences. They have the skills and competencies necessary to do well in life. And she, in fact, I want to shout her out because she's the state superintendent of the year for the state of North Carolina. And that does not just happen, you know. It's an exciting accomplishment, but it also means that like there's some incredible work that is taking root across all of our schools. And we also have principals at each of our schools who are at the driver's seat alongside of their staff, who are making the strides necessary for young people. And we wouldn't stop short of that. So we're sure those four schools, and maybe that even the fifth high school, right, would also get in exciting new models where innovation is like definitely taking root in our district. They've been towards like what the future of work looks like, so that our kids feel really prepared and ready to run after high school. Thanks for that question.
Another question: how will the staff be impacted? Because I know currently it's a lot of staff that they think that they might be moved to different schools, or they pay might change or something. So I'm wondering how will it affect the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that's certainly a reasonable concern, and we understand that the teachers and administrators in those four schools have that concern. So first of all, you know, each school district, they are employed by that school district, so it wouldn't be an automatic transfer to Edgecombe County Schools. Certainly, the superintendent school board, they have the decision on who they hire and don't. I think there's certainly opportunity for them to work for Edgecombe County Schools. Obviously, we need good teachers in those schools. It would do us no good to get school buildings and students and not have the teachers to educate them. So it won't be an automatic transfer, but certainly I'm sure our school board, our superintendent, be interested in looking at every single person that works in those schools now as a possibility.
Okay. So now we're getting to the money again. Would that pay change if they go, say you were registered as a you taught at D.S. Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Now they register. Now all of a sudden they say yes to the Demerger, and they change you to a ECPS teacher. You get registered in their system. Would the pay change?
So all teachers, all educators are paid based on a state salary schedule. That's across the state. Now the difference is each district pays a supplement, an additional percentage on top of that to supplement that salary. That supplement differs from one school district to another. Now, as it stands right now, Nash County Schools, they do have a higher supplement than Edgecombe County Schools. We have tried to work very hard and very collaboratively with our school board to provide the additional funding that they need. And over the last several years, that supplement has increased. I think right now they're at 7% is the lowest. So there is right now a difference in the supplement, but we understand that that's a concern. And if this transition takes place, that's something that we'll certainly look at.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to the side where people say that Edgecombe County Public Schools is lower performing or doesn't have as much resources as Nash County Public Schools. Should they be worried?
No. I again really believe in like all the work that's taking root in Edgecombe County Public Schools for our young people. We have like exciting new models across our state, across our district. We also have folks who are outside of our district who coming into our district, who are outside of our state, who are coming to see like what we're up to, because we're transforming learning in like exciting new ways. So as you mentioned, like our academic metrics are there, and it shows that we're supporting young people. academically, right? Like significant like levels of achievement, high levels of achievement, but also like we're like breaking the box, right? We're running towards like new and exciting models. We have learning hubs and spokes in our district. We have like school advisories. We're running micro schools. We have our early learning pods. And so we have assistant superintendent of like innovation, who's just like main job is to explore exciting new models that help students like meet their passions. The students know exactly what they're up to.
So that's what micro
25.
school is.
Exactly. In fact, you have a micro school at West, right? And so that is just like to try things, like learn from kids, try things about like what they want to be true, what they want less of, what do they want more of, like to have like bring in some of that tried and true like research around like the science of learning and the science of reading, and to better ensure that our schools are aligned with what that science is saying. But there's no parents should not be worried. As I again mentioned, we have an incredible leader who takes bold risks for young people. To ensure that like they get nothing less of like what they deserve. So I don't know, like folks shouldn't be worried. In fact, if a demerger would have happened, I think it can be really exciting about what's to come next and what's on the horizon.
So now we have a question about somehow, I don't know how, but they say, why haven't the parents been informed about the merger? Because my dad knew, my mom knew, but it seems like other people didn't know.
Yeah, and that's part of why we're doing this. We realize that there's not one thing that we can do necessarily to inform every parent, every child that may be affected by this. So we've been plugging away at this for some time now. As I mentioned earlier, we just had a series of community meetings. We feel like that has helped to get the word out. We've worked with local press that's been interested in this, gotten information out. You know, part of what we're doing now is to address some of the questions and hopefully to inform parents and stakeholders what this is all about, so that we can share this on our website, social media, so people can be informed. I certainly understand some people that have come to our meetings say, I haven't heard about this, why am I just hearing about it? Well, we're working very hard to try to get the word out. Again, I want to stress that the decision to do this has not been made. Our board has not taken a vote on it. They've been deliberating it. We've had some board members that are very much in support of it. We have some members that are hesitant about it. Some have been vocal to say that they are against it. So there's the work to do now is to find out how the community feels about it, and for our board to make the best informed decision that they can.
So how could the parents get involved with, like the parents and community, how could they get involved with the demerger?
Yeah, so many ways. So we're I think maybe this week or next we have a article that's coming out that like folks can read about all the things. So we have some of our friends and folks that we deeply admire at NC have been speaking to like representatives in Nash and Edgecombe to capture a story that to create a story that tells kind of like how we got here, where we're going, so folks can pick that up. So we'll share that on our website. We'll share that on our social media posts to get that out there. So folks are like, I still don't really understand this. Then they have an article that they can read and share. So that's hopeful. That's hopefully coming out either this week or next week. Secondly, we'll leave my email address. So if folks really want to like sit down and have conversations about this, I'm collecting those insights and the insights that we're pulling together to share with our commissioners, so they might use that as like guidance. And so they want to have like these empathy interviews, these like up close conversations. Then I believe my email. They essentially send me an email, and we'll schedule some time to get on the calendars and meet and have these conversations. Secondly, we have a survey. So we want like far more participants than what we've been able to capture and to engage rather. And so we'll have the survey. The survey was posted on our social media site. We'll send that out again shortly alongside of this video. It's also you go to ecps.us. There's a tab that says Demerger. All that Eric has shared regarding the nuances of this of the law, like that's there. The survey's there, so if folks want to take it there, they have a place there as well.
Where can we find information about the merger?
Yeah. So social media sites. So our Facebook, we posted a lot about the demerger. Again, I think there's a 2-page document that shows like how we got here. and that's on our Facebook. That's also on our site. I know our county is also going to put a lot of that on our site. My information will be included as part of like this video, so if folks want to get in contact with me, so we can schedule some time. And so FaceTime together, not like FaceTime, but whatever. So we schedule some time together to talk about like what are questions they have, curiosities, things we want to like to share with our board, like share with our commissioners. We'll capture some of that and feed it back out. So that's how folks can get involved. That's where like most of our information is shared. As opposed to the article that's coming out, that too would also be included in our website and on our social media page.
Well,
And then they can talk to Eric because Eric's now the expert. So like y'all, if y'all want to learn more, talk to Eric. He knows what he's up to. He knows all about the demerger.
well, that was a long time, a lot of questions. Hopefully, our community and the parents and the students got this information. And I guess I could say have a good day.